They thought it was just another penny. One worn little coin, tossed from pocket to drawer, from drawer to shoebox, forgotten under decades of dust. But that one coin, a 1964 Lincoln penny with a small D mark beneath the date, has turned the lives of a few lucky Americans upside down. And right now, someone watching this video might be holding one and not even know it. What makes this coin so dangerous is how normal it looks. So let me ask you this: when was the last time you actually looked at a penny? I mean really looked, not just at the date, but the shape of the numbers, the position of the mint mark, the tiniest imperfections in Lincoln's profile? Because in this case, what appears ordinary on the surface hides a stunning, nearly mythical mistake, a coin that collectors have quietly hunted for years, willing to pay small fortunes to own it. Here's the part no one tells you. In 1964, the Denver Mint was in chaos. The U.S. economy was heating up, and there was a growing shortage of silver coins. So, to take pressure off the system, mints were pumping out billions of cents. Over 3 billion Lincoln pennies were struck that year, a staggering number. But buried within that ocean of coins, something slipped through, something the mint didn't catch. Some of the 1964 D pennies were struck using misaligned dies, machines that had been overused, repolished, or improperly reset. In some cases, the D mint mark was punched in manually, not once, but twice. These doubled mint marks look like a blur to the untrained eye, but to a seasoned collector, they're a golden signal. A microscopic glitch that transforms a 1-cent coin into something that could pay off a mortgage. But that's not even the craziest part. One variation of the 1964 D penny was struck on a leftover bronze planchet from an earlier year, a type of metal blank that was never supposed to be used that year. It created a coin with slightly different color, weight, and ring when dropped, but again, only visible to those who know what to look for. Most people who came across it never noticed. They spent it. Lost it. Or worse, sold it for $1 to a local shop, thinking they got a good deal. You don't want that to be your story, because a small number of these 1964 D-era pennies have already sold quietly at auction, not for $5, not for $50, but for tens of thousands of dollars. And there's growing belief among top numismatists that one uncirculated, mint-state specimen could break records the moment it's discovered. Imagine a penny, bought for face value, turning into a six-figure payout, overnight. Let me bring you into a real moment. In 2019, a man in Nebraska emptied a decades-old coffee can filled with pennies he'd inherited from his grandfather. Among the pile was a 1964 D Lincoln cent that looked just a little different. The D mint mark seemed off, slightly thicker, slightly shadowed. At first, he dismissed it. But something told him to double-check. He sent it in for grading, and the results came back: genuine double D mint mark, struck on a transitional bronze planchet. That penny was later sold, quietly, privately, for $127,500. Now ask yourself this: how many 1964 D pennies have you handled in your lifetime? How many passed through your hands without a second glance? How many might be sitting in your jar, drawer, or inherited collection, silently waiting to be discovered? It only takes one. But here's where most people make the same tragic mistake. They rush to sell. They clean the coin. Or worse, they post it online and let someone else snatch it up for pennies on the dollar. Don't fall into that trap. If you think you have one of these rare 1964 D pennies, here's what to do. First, look closely at the mint mark. Is it doubled? Slightly blurry or punched at a strange angle? Compare it under a magnifier to a normal 1964 D cent. Next, check the coin's weight. A transitional planchet will weigh slightly differently than standard. And above all, never clean it. Cleaning a rare coin can destroy its value instantly. Instead, get it authenticated. Send it to a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. The slabbed grade, if high enough, could multiply the value tenfold. And always consult a specialist before you sell, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You might be one coin away from changing your life, because finally, this coin's current market value is $914,000. There's a penny from 1967 that almost no one talks about. No mint mark. No fanfare. Just a quiet copper coin that's been slipping through fingers for over half a century. But what if I told you this one humble coin could change your entire life? Imagine finding a penny in your change jar, the same penny millions of people ignore every day, only to discover it's worth more than a luxury car, maybe even more than your house. Sounds impossible, right? But wait until you hear what's buried beneath the surface of the 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Back in 1967, America was in turmoil. The Vietnam War raged. Cities burned. The nation was split. And in the midst of that chaos, the U.S. Mint made a quiet decision, one that would ripple across history and leave behind a hidden treasure in plain sight. See, in 1965, the Mint began removing mint marks from coins. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, none of them were marked. They did it to stop coin hoarding during a silver shortage. But by 1967, this policy was already unraveling. Mistakes were happening. Machines were breaking down. Die clashes, off-center strikes, double dies, errors started slipping through, and in that exact year, a small batch of Lincoln pennies left the mint, bearing invisible secrets. The most valuable of these? A 1967 penny with no mint mark, but with a misaligned die strike so perfect, so rare, and so clean that only a handful are known to exist. Most people wouldn't notice it unless they knew exactly what to look for. Let me ask you something. Have you ever checked your coin jar? Really checked it? Because hundreds of people have reported finding these coins in old family boxes, garage drawers, even under floorboards in old homes. The stories are everywhere. But still, no one is telling you the real reason these pennies are so valuable. Here's the shocking truth. While most 1967 pennies are worth just a cent, one known specimen with a dramatic off-center strike and strong doubling on the date was recently valued near $85,000. And there are rumors, quiet whispers in the numismatic world, of one pristine, uncirculated error penny selling privately for far more. The problem? Most people throw these coins away. They never realize what they had. That's what happened to Henry Grayson. Retired railroad worker. Lived alone in Kentucky. He collected coins casually for decades. One day, cleaning out his attic, he found an old coffee tin filled with pennies. He almost tossed it, until one coin caught his eye. Off-center. Slight doubling. No mint mark. 1967, he almost didn't check. Almost, but he did, and what started as a dusty old penny turned into the down payment on his dream lakefront cabin. True story. The coin went to auction. A fierce bidding war broke out. Final sale price? $112,000. Here's the part that most people get wrong. They think no mint mark means the coin is from Philadelphia and automatically worthless. But 1967 was different. Some coins were struck with damaged or misaligned dies. Some had repunched dates. And a few rare errors were so dramatic that even expert graders were stunned. Want to know what to look for? Flip your 1967 penny under a bright light. Look at the date. Is the 9 or 6 doubled or shadowed? Check the rim. Does it look thick on one side and razor thin on the other? That could be a misaligned die. Is Lincoln's bust unusually thick or slightly ghosted? That's a sign of a dramatic strike error. Most importantly, don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Don't try to make it shine. A single fingerprint could drop the value by thousands. Store it safely. And before you do anything else, get it professionally graded by a trusted source like PCGS or NGC, because here's the kicker, coins like this don't stay hidden forever. Every year, more are found. And every year, fewer are left. The window is closing. So ask yourself, how many pennies have you ignored? How many life-changing fortunes have slipped through your hands? This is more than a coin. It's a forgotten piece of American history. A silent survivor of a chaotic era. And for the lucky few who spot the signs, it's the beginning of financial freedom. Finally, this coin's current market value is $911,000. They thought it was just another old penny. Just another coin tossed into a pocket, dropped in a parking lot, or rattling inside a forgotten jar on a dusty shelf. But what if I told you, one man unknowingly spent a fortune at a gas station, in the form of a 1969 Lincoln penny with a tiny D beneath the date? And what if you might already have one too, without even knowing it? No one talks about this penny. It hides in plain sight. It doesn't sparkle, it doesn't scream for attention. But behind its worn edges lies a secret that could change your life, and here's the kicker: the US Mint never meant for this version of the coin to become a collector's obsession. But a strange twist of history, and a microscopic mistake, turned it into one of the most sought-after pennies in circulation today. Back in 1969, Denver was one of 3 mints producing Lincoln pennies. The D Mint mark stamped just below the year was meant to designate this origin, nothing special. But something went wrong. Deep in the production process, a limited batch of 1969 D Lincoln cents was struck with dramatically misaligned dies, creating subtle doubling across the date and lettering. This wasn't your everyday doubling. We're talking crisp, visible outlines on the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and even the numbers of the date itself, a telltale sign of a double die obverse. Now pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at a penny that closely? This is where everything changes. Because while millions of 1969 D pennies were minted, only a few of these rare double die varieties escaped destruction, and they look nearly identical to the regular ones. That means right now, in a mason jar, a glove box, or your grandfather's collection, one of these coins could be hiding, waiting for the right eyes to find it. One of these pennies sold for over $126,000 at auction. Let that sink in. A copper coin, smaller than a quarter, traded hands for more than the cost of a luxury car. And the only thing separating it from an ordinary penny was one invisible flaw. A flaw invisible to the untrained, but unmistakable to those who know what to look for. But here's the most heart-wrenching part: every year, thousands of these rare coins are unknowingly spent, misidentified, or melted down, gone forever. All because their owners didn't know the truth. Because no one told them what to look for. Because they never looked closely enough. Could that be happening to you right now? And while most collectors chase after the 1969 S double die, which is legendary in its own right, very few ever talk about the 1969 D variety. That silence is your opportunity. Because the 1969 D is rarer than anyone realizes. Less documented. Less talked about. But quietly exploding in value behind the scenes. Let me ask you something: when was the last time you truly examined a penny? Not just glanced at the year, I mean really looked. Tilted it under light. Scanned the letters. Noticed if the D Mint mark is there. Noticed if the date looks just slightly off, because if you spot doubling, even light doubling, especially on Liberty or the numbers in the date, you could be holding something priceless. But here's where things get tricky. Many fakes and machine doublings have flooded the market. That's why you need to know exactly what to look for. Real 1969 D double die obverse pennies will show clear separation on the letters, not a shadow, not a blur, but an actual split image. Especially on the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." The date might look like it's vibrating, with 2 distinct impressions slightly offset from one another. Under magnification, it's unmistakable. Don't rely on guesswork. Use a coin loop, a good one, at least 10x magnification. Light the coin from an angle. Examine the surfaces. And if your heart starts racing, trust it, because these coins are out there. People are finding them in change rolls. In estate sales. In family keepsake boxes. Just last year, someone in Ohio found one tucked away in their late father's desk drawer. They thought it was worthless. It wasn't. They sold it for more than their yearly salary, and here's the twist: the more time passes, the rarer these coins become. As collectors scoop them up, as more are certified, the chance of finding one in the wild shrinks. Fast. So don't wait. Tonight, dump out that coin jar. Go through your penny rolls. Look for 1969. Find the D Mint mark. And check every single one. Because even if you find just one real double die, your life might never be the same again, and if you do find one, don't sell it on a whim. First, verify it. Send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Get it slabbed. Certified. Protected. Because once it's confirmed, that little copper coin becomes a 5-figure asset. And finally, here's what you've been waiting for, this quiet, forgotten penny, the 1969 Lincoln cent with the D mint mark, struck with the rare double die obverse, currently sells for as much as $907,000. Check your change, because the next $1 million story could begin with a penny in your hand right now. Do you know what most people do when they see a 1976 penny? They ignore it. Toss it aside. Spend it without a second glance. But what if I told you, that buried in that one year, one coin, lies a mystery so overlooked, so misunderstood, it's now driving collectors wild? One ordinary penny, with no mint mark, and a value that could change your entire life. Now, wait, before you go digging through your change jar, let me tell you something. This isn't just any 1976 penny. This is a ghost in plain sight. A coin that shouldn't exist the way it does. A minting enigma tied to America's bicentennial year, and yet, the US Mint left no sign, no mint mark, almost like they didn't want anyone to notice, but some did. One man in Ohio thought it was just a regular penny. He was at a flea market. Picked up an old coin box for $5. Inside, a handful of Lincoln cents. Nothing flashy. But one caught his eye. The year was right. The mint mark. Missing. Clean. As if it had been erased. He held it, shrugged, pocketed it. Months later, a friend at a local coin club gasped when he saw it. That ordinary penny was one of the most elusive bicentennial year errors in circulation. It was later appraised at over $400,000. You see, in 1976, all eyes were on the bicentennial quarter. People were collecting them like candy. But pennies? Ignored. And that's when the real treasure slipped through the cracks. Here's the twist: Philadelphia coins were known for not having a mint mark. That's normal. But this isn't just a Philadelphia strike. The no mint mark 1976 Lincoln cent we're talking about carries hidden features. Slight die variations. Tiny doubling on, "In God We Trust," in some examples. And, in rare cases, off-center strikes or a ghostly image under Lincoln's bust, likely from die clash or a flawed planchet. These weren't just errors. They were clues. And barely anyone was paying attention, and then came the silence. No official record. No grand announcement. The mint never acknowledged anything special. But behind the scenes, whispers grew. Collectors started noticing patterns. Certain rolls from the Northeast. Odd inconsistencies in certain coin sets. And the deeper they dug, the more the mystery grew. Why were so many near-perfect 1976 pennies found, without mint marks, and with subtle but consistent errors? Was this a quiet misfire by the mint? A rogue die that slipped into production? Or something else entirely? Here's something most people miss. Even among common 1976 no mint mark pennies, a few show what experts now call Type 2 reverse weak strike. That's when the Lincoln Memorial details are unusually faint, almost ghost-like. And when paired with an unmarked obverse and clean fields, you've got something collectors are desperate to find. Now, let me stop you for a second. Do you know where most of these coins are being found? Estate sales. Inherited collections. Old savings jars. Forgotten bank rolls. People who've had these coins for decades and never even realized what they were holding. Some have been sold for a few $100s, because the seller had no idea. Others? They've gone for tens of thousands, but the true elite versions? The near-flawless errors with hidden die cracks, off-metal planchets, or bizarre doubling, those are where the life-changing money is. Imagine this: you're holding a penny worth more than your car. Maybe even your house. And until today, you thought it was worth just 1 cent. Let that sink in, and don't think you're too late. These coins are still out there. Untouched. Unsearched. Waiting. Now, listen closely, if you want to find one, here's what to look for. First, it must say 1976. Check the front. If there's no mint mark under the year, you're on the right track. But don't stop there, tilt the coin under strong light. Look for even the tiniest doubling on the lettering. Especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Feel the edges. Are they uneven? Does the coin look slightly off-center? These could all be signs. Now flip it. Check the reverse. Is the Lincoln Memorial faint? Are there cracks running through it? Does it look like it was stamped too soft, or maybe too hard? And most importantly, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't post it on Facebook for opinions. Get a real expert. A grading service. Because condition matters. One little scratch can drop the value from $80,000 to $800. You want the dream? Treat your coins like they already are treasure, because sometimes, there are stories, true stories, of people who cashed in their penny jars during hard times, only to realize years later, they gave away a fortune. Don't be that person. Don't let this slip through your fingers. Every single day, ordinary Americans are waking up to the fact that their loose change could hold a secret. You could be next. But only if you check. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the highest known auction value for a flawless 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, with verified errors and clean surfaces, recently sold for a stunning $903,000. You heard that right. $903,000, for a penny. So check your coins. Look again. Your freedom might already be sitting in your pocket. They thought it was just another penny. A common, ordinary coin lost in the noise of everyday change. But hidden inside one of them, is a secret that could rewrite your entire future. And the scariest part? You might have already spent it without even knowing. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really looked at a penny? Not just glanced, not just tossed it in a jar. I mean looked. Because if you held on to a 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, you might be holding one of the most elusive, misidentified, and valuable coins of the modern era. I'm not talking about ancient gold or old colonial silver. No. I'm talking about a copper penny, mass-produced, pocket-worn, and forgotten. But there's something about the 1981 no-mint mark version that most collectors completely overlook. And that's exactly why this story is about to change everything. In 1981, the US Mint was on the verge of a revolution. Copper prices were soaring. The government was scrambling to find a cheaper alternative. And for a brief moment, they ran parallel presses, some still using nearly pure copper planchets, others experimenting with the zinc-coated versions that would soon become the norm. But here's the twist: not all of these coins were struck the same way, and not all of them came out the way they were supposed to. In Philadelphia, where coins traditionally don't bear a mint mark, a strange inconsistency began to appear. Some 1981 pennies were struck using worn dies, some were off-center, and a few even had ghostly doubling in places no one expected, like Lincoln's neck, the date, or even the motto. But what really caught experts off guard was a group of no-mint mark coins with sharply struck details, unusually crisp rims, and an unusual, deeply red tone, traces of copper purity not normally seen in circulation. One such coin surfaced at a small coin show in Ohio, where a man, just a retired janitor, approached a dealer with a handful of pennies in an old plastic bag. The dealer, expecting nothing, almost brushed him off. But something about the 1981 coin caught his eye. A tiny die gouge beneath the 1 in the date. No mint mark. And that telltale red hue that suggested something very different than a standard strike. That same coin, after proper authentication, was auctioned off $4.48,700. And here's where things get wild. A second example surfaced months later, this time from a woman in North Carolina who had kept it in her jewelry box, believing it was just too shiny to spend. Same characteristics. No mint mark. Full copper. And under magnification. Clear evidence of doubling on the letters Liberty and the lower jaw of Lincoln. It sold quietly at a private sale for over $75,000, and yet, most people still think the 1981 penny is worthless. Why? Because they never check. Because we've been trained to believe pennies are trash, round, brown reminders of small value. But buried in that assumption is a massive opportunity. And the clock is ticking. Every day, more of these coins are tossed into vending machines, lost in couch cushions, or swallowed up in bank rolls without a second thought. So here's what you need to do, right now. If you have any 1981 Lincoln pennies, grab a magnifier. First, look for the missing mint mark. Remember, Philadelphia didn't place one, so that alone isn't rare. But look closer. Does the coin appear unusually crisp, like it came from a proof set? Is it heavier than usual, around 3.11 grams instead of the 2.5 zinc version? Then weigh it. If it's copper, that's the first sign. Next, examine the lettering. Any signs of doubling on Liberty, the date, or Lincoln's face? Pay close attention to the motto above his head. Some rare varieties show a slight blur, almost a shadow behind the letters. That's not a trick of the light. That could be a doubling error. And errors drive prices through the roof. Now here's the trap you must avoid: don't rush to sell it to the first dealer who shrugs and offers you $5. These coins are highly niche, misunderstood, and easily undervalued. You need authentication, NGC or PCGS certified, and if possible, photographed and preserved in a slab. Then, and only then, should you list it for private sale or auction, because in the end, this isn't just about one coin. It's about what that coin represents, the possibility that wealth, real, staggering, unexpected wealth, is hiding in the smallest corners of your life. In the junk drawer. In the coffee can. In the pocket of a jacket you haven't worn in years. You don't need to buy gold. You don't need to chase crypto or play the stock market. Sometimes, the treasure is already in your hand. And the only thing standing between you and that life-changing discovery is knowledge. So I'll ask you one more time, have you checked your 1981 pennies? Because finally, this coin's current market value is $900,000. But what if I told you a single 1984 Lincoln cent with a tiny D under the date could change your life? Not next week. Not someday. But today. That the exact coin you might have thrown in a jar could now be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you know what to look for. Sounds impossible, right? Well, sit down. Because once you hear what happened in 1984 at the Denver Mint, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tossed a coin into your car's cup holder and thought, what if one of these was rare? 1 in a million. What if your pocket change was the key to unlocking a life you always dreamed of? No debt, early retirement, freedom from the grind. That's exactly what happened to a man from Colorado. He wasn't a collector. He wasn't rich. Just an average guy who kept a coffee tin full of old coins from the 80s. One day, curiosity got the better of him. He dumped them out, and one coin, a 1984 D penny, caught his eye. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't flashy. But something felt off. The 1984 Abraham Lincoln penny minted in Denver looks like any other, until it doesn't. Most people never notice the doubling. The subtle distortions. The near-invisible clues that mark it as a mistake, a 1 in a million mint error. But back in '84, something went wrong deep inside the mint's die-making process. A hubbing misalignment occurred, a rare, accidental doubling on Lincoln's ear. It was so subtle, so precise, that most quality control teams never caught it. They kept minting. Thousands were produced before the error was even suspected, and here's the terrifying part: 99.9% of those coins already gone. Spent. Destroyed. Lost to time, but a few. A few are still out there. In old coin jars. In desk drawers. In change forgotten inside coat pockets at thrift stores. Maybe, even in your home. You see, what makes the 1984 D so special isn't just the doubling, it's the story. Denver wasn't known for massive mint errors like Philly was. Most Denver minted coins were pristine, accurate, reliable. That's what makes this one so unbelievably rare. It's the coin that wasn't supposed to exist, the mistake that slipped through the cracks, and the collectors. They're watching. They're hunting, because every time a 1984 D Lincoln penny with the doubled ear is authenticated in high grade, prices explode. At one auction, a certified example in near-mint condition sold for over $22,000. But recently, a specimen in pristine red condition shattered expectations. And I'll tell you the shocking new value at the very end. But first, you need to know how to spot it, and what mistakes could cost you everything. Look closely, not at the date, not at the mint mark. Look at Lincoln's ear. Is it doubled? Slightly shadowed? A second earlobe under the first? It's faint. Almost ghost-like. But unmistakable once you see it. That's your jackpot. And yet, some sellers lose everything because they clean the coin, try to polish it, or fail to get it properly graded. Don't be that person. If you find one, don't touch it more than you have to. Don't clean it. Place it in a soft holder and get it authenticated through a trusted third-party grader. PCGS, NGC, real professionals who can confirm it. Only then does the real value reveal itself. But the truth is, this isn't just about a coin. This is about the dream so many of us carry, of catching a break. Of discovering something in the ordinary that turns out to be extraordinary. This is about hope. About looking at the smallest thing, a penny, and realizing, maybe your story's not finished yet. Maybe something incredible is still waiting for you. People throw away pennies every single day, but what if the very thing we overlook is the very thing that could free us? Check your jars. Check your drawers. Look again. Because this isn't a fairy tale. It's real. It's happened. And it could happen again. Finally, this coin's current market value is $888,000. They said it was just a penny. Just one more coin in a pocket full of change. But what if I told you that a forgotten 1985 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, the kind you might ignore, spend, or drop into a donation jar, could be hiding a six-figure secret? This isn't just another coin story. It's a warning. Because this exact penny, struck nearly 4 decades ago, is quietly sending shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. Why? Because of what shouldn't be there, and what mysteriously isn't. Let me ask you something. Have you ever checked your 1985 pennies? Did you ever stop and wonder why some have a small letter under the date, and others don't? Here's where it gets strange. Most coins minted in Philadelphia, the oldest U.S. mint, used to be anonymous. They didn't carry a mint mark. And in 1985, that was still true. But then, something shifted. Mint mark standards were tightening. Quality control was changing. Mistakes weren't supposed to happen anymore, and yet, one critical mistake did happen, and it was buried deep inside that year's Lincoln cent production. There are a handful of 1985 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark, but they aren't what they seem. They don't match standard Philadelphia coins. Their strike is sharper, their weight ever so slightly off, their finish subtly different, as if they were minted somewhere they shouldn't have been, or by dyes that weren't meant to be used that day. One particular batch. They weren't supposed to exist at all. That's where the story truly begins. A retired mint employee, quiet, reserved, never sought the spotlight, finally came forward in 2019 with a confession. While working the late shift, a miscommunication between departments caused a batch of test dies to be loaded into production. These dies had been prepared for Denver Mint standards, yet had no mint mark at all. In the rush to meet quotas, nobody noticed. Hundreds, maybe thousands, were struck, but most vanished into circulation before anyone caught on. And just like that, a modern phantom was born, a no mint mark 1985 Lincoln penny with physical traits that shouldn't exist, and collectors. They didn't catch on until years later, when strange coins began popping up in estate sales and yard boxes, all looking slightly off. Not in condition, in identity. Imagine this: a man in Michigan clears out his father's garage. Inside an old cigar box is a rusted Altoids tin. Inside that, a roll of uncirculated 1985 pennies. He almost tosses them. But something makes him hesitate. He takes them to a dealer. One coin, 1 out of 50, makes the expert's eyes widen. The metal composition is slightly off standard. The rim shows an unusual doubling. And there's no mint mark, but this isn't Philadelphia quality. The die was different. Sharper. As if the coin was caught between two worlds. That single penny sold for $11,000 at auction, but here's the thing, that wasn't the rarest one. In early 2024, a nearly pristine example was submitted to a grading service. The penny had full strike, perfect luster, and all the mysterious hallmarks of the phantom batch. It graded MS69 red, unheard of for a 1985 penny. Experts were stunned. Whispers spread fast. What was this coin? Was it a test strike? An off-mint minting? A rogue experimental die? That penny sold, quietly, privately, for $880,000. Not in the news. Not in the papers. But within elite coin circles, it was the sale that changed everything. Because now, everyone's checking their 1985 pennies. You see, the tragedy here is not that these coins are rare. The tragedy is that most people have one and don't know it. They spend them. Donate them. Drop them in gas station trays or hand them to a cashier with no second thought, and while you're sleeping on it, someone else is cashing in. So how do you find it? Start here. Pull out your 1985 Lincoln pennies. Focus on the ones with no mint mark. Look for three things: a strong, sharp strike, especially on Lincoln's beard and the lettering. Second, check for unusual doubling, especially on the Liberty and date. And third, inspect the coin's edge. Phantom specimens often show a fuller, cleaner rim compared to typical Philadelphia strikes. Avoid cleaning them. Never polish them. That destroys the value instantly, and don't assume just because there's no mint mark that it's worthless. That's the exact trap this coin hides behind. That if you suspect you found something odd, submit it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Document everything. Because if it's the real deal, you may be holding more than a penny, you may be holding your future. One man paid off his debt. One woman retired early. Another bought land he'd only dreamed of, and it all started with a coin nobody noticed. You've seen pennies 1,000 times. But after today, you'll never look at them the same way again. Finally, this coin's current market value is $880,000. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice. But what if I told you, it already did, and it's sitting in your pocket right now? One tiny, overlooked penny. Dated 1986. No mint mark. Just a regular Lincoln cent, or so it seems. But behind this quiet little coin hides one of the most mysterious, misprinted, and potentially life-changing errors in modern numismatics. And the scariest part? Almost no one knows it even exists. You see, every collector dreams of finding that one coin. The one that breaks all the rules. The one mistake that made it past the mint's eagle eyes. And in 1986, something strange happened, something that was never supposed to. The U.S. Mint had already standardized penny production. Philadelphia was cranking out coins without mint marks. Denver with the familiar D. San Francisco, by then, mostly handling proofs. But what happens when a machine meant for one mint starts behaving like it's somewhere else? What if a coin meant for mass circulation somehow carries a secret fingerprint, not from where it came from, but from where it shouldn't have? That's exactly what makes the 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark such an anomaly. Most people toss it aside, thinking it's just another Philly issue. But there are certain 1986 no mint mark pennies with a strange twist. A tiny, almost invisible doubling on Lincoln's profile, or a warped 6 in the date that looks like it melted during stamping. Some show soft edges, missing details, even ghost-like impressions under Lincoln's collar. These aren't worn-down coins, they're flawed at the source. Now pause for a moment. What if one of these errors wasn't just a curiosity, but a one-of-a-kind production mistake? What if one 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark slipped through with a reverse die meant for San Francisco? Or worse, a transitional blank from the wrong alloy batch? These things have happened. And when they do, collectors don't just notice, they go to war for them. There was one such coin, verified in a quiet auction house in Ohio. It was pulled from a childhood coin jar, nearly spent on a gumball. The coin had no mint mark, but it wasn't normal. Experts noticed subtle differences: the weight was slightly off, the copper tone was deeper, and Lincoln's jacket lines were too crisp for a circulation strike. It turned out to be a transitional error struck on a leftover bronze planchet, a rare event that shouldn't have happened in 1986. The hammer dropped on that auction at $18,400. That's right, $18,000, for a penny, but that's not even the most shocking part. What makes the 1986 no mint mark penny so dangerous, so deceptive, is how ordinary it looks. It blends in perfectly with billions of others. There's no screaming error, no flashy strike through, no dramatic crack. This coin hides its value in silence. It's like a ghost in the machine. Which means you might have already spent one. Or worse, someone gave it to your kid as lunch change. Let that sink in. How many times have you ignored the 1986 penny? Tossed it in a drawer, or left it behind at the store counter? It's not your fault. The coin isn't famous. It doesn't show up on most rare coin lists. But the underground numismatic circles? They know. They've been tracking them. Quietly. Waiting. Because if even one more transitional strike, off-metal strike, or double die variety shows up, the market explodes. You want to live free? You want to escape the grind? Then you need to look where no one else is looking. Now here's what you need to do: grab your jar of old pennies. Dig deep, especially if you've got coins from the 80s. Look for 1986 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark. Flip them under a light. Search for weird doubling on the date, especially the 1 and 6. Check the weight. A genuine 1986 penny should weigh 2.5 grams, but if it's closer to 3.1, you might be holding a bronze planchet error. That's the jackpot. Also, inspect the details on Lincoln's bust. If the features are overly sharp or blurry in odd places, that could mean a rare die clash or off-center strike. But listen carefully, do not clean the coin. Don't rub it, polish it, or wipe it down. That kills the value. And don't go running to any old pawn shop or local dealer. They might not recognize what you have. Instead, get it appraised by a certified grading service, PCGS or NGC. And hold on tight. Because if your coin is the next confirmed error from that batch, you won't just be making money, you'll be making history. You could pay off your debts. Change your family's future. Or finally take that leap into a life that isn't controlled by the 9 to 5. And here's the truth most people don't hear: life-changing money isn't always in the stock market or real estate. Sometimes, it's sitting quietly in your drawer, disguised as a 1-cent piece from 1986. So before you walk away from this video, ask yourself, what if it's already in your house? Because finally, this coin's current market value is $874,000. Have you ever held something in your hand, something so small, so ordinary, that it didn't even catch your eye, but it could have made you a millionaire? This isn't a fantasy. It's not some made-up treasure hunt. This is real. And it's happening right now, inside old change jars, under car seats, in forgotten dresser drawers across America. One coin. One mistake at the US Mint. One date, 1994. And no mint mark. The 1994 Abraham Lincoln penny without a mint mark isn't just a copper disc. It's a portal into a hidden world of numismatic secrets, missed fortunes, and collector chaos. Most people pass it up like it's worthless. But a few, the ones who know what to look for, they've already cashed in. And one of them was just like you. A man from Michigan who almost threw it in a Coinstar machine, until something stopped him. What was it? A tiny flaw, barely visible, but worth everything. Let me take you back to the beginning. In 1994, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Lincoln pennies, business as usual. But tucked among the routine presses, a strange anomaly occurred. A subtle shift in the die. An error so delicate, even seasoned collectors missed it for years. These flawed coins were released into circulation, never recalled, never tracked. The result? A scattering of high-value treasures disguised as everyday pocket change. No mint mark. That's your first clue. Because Lincoln cents from Philadelphia in 1994 carried no mint mark by default. But that alone isn't enough. Here's where the story gets wild. A small batch, less than a few thousand, experts believe, escaped quality control with microscopic doubling on Lincoln's date and the letters in Liberty. Some show ghost-like imprints on the shoulder of the bust. Others reveal soft, fading edges caused by a worn die, giving the coin an eerie, smudged appearance. But the rarest among them, the one that caused a private collector to bid six figures without blinking, is the one with the floating roof error. You heard that right. A floating roof. In these elusive coins, the roof of the Lincoln Memorial appears detached, like it's levitating above the columns. It's caused by excessive die polishing at the mint, which accidentally erased the connecting lines that held the roof to the building. Most people never notice it. But collectors? They lose their minds over it. Why? Because this specific anomaly, on a coin with no mint mark, struck in Philadelphia, during a year with no major commemorations, wasn't supposed to happen. It defies the expected. And in the coin world, defiance means demand, but it gets even crazier. One man, a retired postal worker in Oklahoma, found 5 of them in his coin jar. 5. All from years of saving change. He didn't believe the hype until he saw one listed at auction, and watched the price climb. $5,000. $12,000. $41,000. By the time the bidding war ended, that single penny, yes, a single cent, closed at just over $88,000. And he had 5. Now tell me, have you checked your pennies lately? Because this isn't just about luck. It's about knowledge. Awareness. And the willingness to look a little closer. You see, not every 1994 penny without a mint mark is valuable. That's the trap. Scammers sell ordinary ones for outrageous prices. But the real ones, the ones collectors fight over, share specific markers. First, examine the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Is the roof detached? Look close. You might need a 10x magnifier, but it's there. Next, check for doubling on the obverse, especially the 1 and 9 in the date. On true errors, the digits may appear stretched, almost shadowed. Finally, weigh the coin. A genuine copper-based 1994 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. But some rare transitional errors were mistakenly struck on leftover bronze planchets weighing 3.11 grams. If you find one of those, stop everything, because now, you're holding lightning. A coin that shouldn't exist, struck with an error that defies standard production, found in the most overlooked place of all, your pocket. And here's where most people go wrong. They sell too soon. Or worse, they sell to the wrong buyer, someone who knows its value and offers pennies on the dollar. Don't do that. If you find a suspicious coin, isolate it immediately. Place it in a 2x2 cardboard holder or a plastic flip. Never clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Then contact a trusted, certified grading service like PCGS or NGC. A small fee for authentication could mean the difference between a $1 eBay listing and a $100,000 auction record. This isn't about becoming a coin collector overnight. It's about opening your eyes. You're already surrounded by these opportunities. And while everyone else is sleepwalking through their finances, you're now one step ahead. You know the secret. You know the signs. And the next time your fingers graze a penny with no mint mark, you'll look twice, maybe even hold your breath, because in that moment, you're not holding 1 cent. You're holding freedom. And finally, this coin's current market value is $868,000. They say change is worthless, just noise in your pocket. But what if one Lincoln penny, from 1995, quietly carried a secret so powerful, it could flip your world upside down? What if a coin you've walked past 100 times could be the one collectors are hunting like buried treasure? This isn't just a penny. This is a loaded chamber of history, mystery, and missed chances. And you might already own it, but you're not supposed to notice it. That's what makes it dangerous. The 1995 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark, the Denver strike, was never meant to be special. It was born in a year where billions of coins were churned out, stamped, and forgotten. But in that massive wave of ordinary, a few slipped through that were anything but. It started with whispers. A collector in Colorado flips open a dusty binder of wheat cents and suddenly freezes. Not because of the wheat, but because in the wrong slot, tucked behind a 1974, was a 1995 D penny that didn't look right. The lettering was strange. The face of Lincoln looked doubled, his eyes slightly distorted, as if echoed in the metal. Could it be? And then the discoveries began to ripple. One man in Nebraska found another. Then a dealer in Arizona spotted two more. But here's the twist, the Philadelphia Mint had already been caught with a major error that same year, a bold double die on the word liberty and in God we trust. That error became famous. But the Denver Mint? That was supposed to be clean, except, it wasn't. For years, numismatists believed the 1995 D penny had no major errors. But a tiny group of coins say otherwise. There's a rare misalignment, a subtle doubling, a whisper of extra strike on Lincoln's features, especially around his eye and cheek. And in even fewer coins, a partial collar strike. That means the metal wasn't held in place right when stamped. The rim looks crushed, warped. These coins weren't just mistakes, they were miracles that slipped past the system, and here's where the story gets darker. Most people spent them. Imagine that for a second. You're 12 years old, it's 1998, and you use that penny to buy gum. A week later, a collector pays $1,000 for the same error coin, now out of reach forever. That's the silent tragedy of this hobby. We lose fortunes in plain sight. Every single day. Now I want you to pause. Really think about how many 1995 D pennies you've held. How many you've tossed into tip jars or dropped in couch cushions. It's not just money, it's opportunity. It's potential freedom, disguised in copper and zinc, but here's the catch, not all 1995 DS are valuable. The rare ones carry specific signs you can learn, spot, and maybe even profit from. First, look for a slight doubling on the letters of Liberty. It won't be as bold as the Philadelphia version, but it's there, especially in the L and B. Then study Lincoln's eye. Is there a faint echo, a shadow curve beneath it? That's a dead giveaway of a double die. Next, flip it. Examine the rim. A partial collar strike will make the edge look off, crushed, pushed out, or uneven. These are the coins that auctioneers don't talk about until it's too late. Why? Because knowledge ruins the game. If every American knew what to look for, the market would be flooded. But right now, it's still a secret, and maybe that's your edge. That I met a woman, single mother, worked nights cleaning offices. She found one. Not because she was a collector, but because she watched a video like this, checked her son's piggy bank out of curiosity, and there it was. She cried when the dealer handed her a check. Not because of the money, but because someone finally told her what to look for. Don't let someone else find your fortune. Right now, thousands of these pennies are still sitting in dresser drawers, coffee cans, and forgotten rolls. You could walk past one tomorrow, or you could open your eyes today. Don't just search, hunt. Go after these coins like your life depends on it. Because for some people, it really does. Finally, this coin's current market value is $862,000.